Thank you for staying with TVC Breakfast. Well, at the National Security Summit in Abuja, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, urged the youth to take up active roles in curbing Nigeria's insecurity challenge, emphasizing the importance of intelligence gathering, community engagement, and the integration of technological solutions in the fight against insecurity. AVM Abraham Adole, who represented the CDS, also said the youth play a critical role in shaping the security landscape of the nation. And these security issues such as terrorism, banditry, kidnapping for ransom, farmer-herder crisis, separatist agitations, militancy, transactional crimes have all adversely affected the Nigerian economy. And to mitigate these challenges, General Musa emphasized that collaboration amongst stakeholders and active involvement of the youth are essential in forging the needed synergy to curb this problem in the country. We have with us in the studio public affairs analyst Michael Adeleye. Thank you very much for coming on board. It's good to see you again. This issue of youth involvement in nation building and within the crux of our discussion, curbing insecurity, isn't entirely new. This is something that people have always been talking about. But how do you see this really working out, practically? Where is the place, if you would, look at it critically, where is the place of the youth in curbing this monster?
Thank you very much and good morning. Thank you for having me. I think the statement made by the representative of the CDS is actually coming at the right time. But ideally, that statement should be coming from the executive or the lawmakers, not from the CDS. But I think the CDS have been overstretched over time. That's why they're talking about this. I mean, when we're talking about insecurity, banditry, incessant killing and all that, we haven't really gone to the root cause of these issues. I mean, every now and then you have our lawmakers inviting the military architecture for questioning at the National Assembly. That's not the way to go. Right. Look, the military has, from my analysis that I've done over the years, the military has only about 20% stake in this whole crisis. And the reason for that is, look, if you bring all the military architecture from anywhere in the world, from the United States of America, they aren't going to be able to curb this incessant menace that we have in this country. The root cause is what we need to look into. And I'm going to be talking about, I hope we have enough time in here, I'm going to be talking about one or two reasons, or a few reasons why we're having this. The military can't really eradicate. So
for you, the root cause, so a key root cause would be,
what I'll be talking about.
What would it be?
Yeah. Now, we will be talking about population explosion.
Right.
We will be talking about youth, which constitute about 70% of the population. We will be talking about the National Assembly, the lawmakers, their role they're meant to play in the whole process. We will be talking about the roles and the duties of the NOA, that's the National Orientation Agency. All this comes together. If we don't actually visit and actually look inwards into all these issues, the military architecture cannot, and I will repeat, cannot actually deal with this whole menace.
In the issue of, apologies, Ibrahim, but I just wanted to take you up on some of the points that you just made to elaborate on one of them, the issue of population explosion. What exactly are you, suggesting? Do you want governments to clamp down? We've seen countries clamping down on a number of children that one can have. But do you see that, or what do you want exactly regarding the issue of Nigeria's population as a link to insecurity?
Yeah, population explosion or growth has its pros and cons.
Right.
It depends on government policies. Now, if you have, like in Nigeria, where you have population explosion, what are we doing about those manpower that we have? That is the question. Now, in a country like this, when the population explodes the way we are now, you're going to have people fighting for space. That's why we have all these land disputes everywhere. We don't have the right policy by the government to actually regulate the land ownership of every community, the state, and the national area in this country. We're going to have this farmers and herders issue, which has been going on for quite a long time now. The herders, their herds need to feed, they need to eat. In every other climb, they actually have a regulation about how herders actually operate. They have how they regulate how those herders actually feed their herds. But we don't have that in this country. So the farmers go out of the farm, plant their crops, the herders comes in and eats all the crops, then the clashes happen. What are the government doing about that? That's another area. So when we have the conflict, incessant killing about farmers, herders conflict, that is population explosion because people are fighting for space to feed themselves, to actually make a living for themselves. That is an area we need to look into. Then also,
before you move to the other point, I'm just wondering how people are fighting for space, really, because Nigeria is a very large country.
It is, yeah.
It's very big, and when you travel to other states, you see some expanse of lands. Maybe most of them belonging to the government. But does it really mean that we don't have enough space to accommodate everyone? Because every one of us, is here, apart from the fact that some are outside of the country. I really want to get the picture you're trying to paint.
We have enough space, but there is no policy in place of how to actually regulate who actually owns what, who actually moves from point A to point B. Now, in this country, people will have like the land grabbers, for example. You buy a land, somebody comes and says, this is my land, and the conflict starts from there. Then there's going to be issues in there. So the issue, we have enough space of land in this country, but there is no land regulation. Starting from communities to state to federal, we need to look into that, or else we're going to be having this issue all the time.
And there's also the issue of one particular point, that always sticks out is the issue of community policing. And I think you hinted at it in the beginning of your analysis, where you said it's interesting. What makes this position of the military interesting is that it is coming from the military. The fact that the issue of community policing. Where do you see this all going? Eventually, the government has said, okay. Well, perhaps now is the time to implement the clamor for state police and all of that. But for community policing now as a recipe to correcting the insecurity trends we are seeing playing out in the country, where would the youth, best fit in? Do you see this as, a good way, even though we also need to correct the causes or address the causes, as you have said?
State policing is a quite very good suggestion. And if the policy is actually being implemented, I think it's going to work. But the fear of people is, what's the state government? The part they're going to play in using those state policing to their advantage, that is what the fear is. But having said that, in the other climb, you have the federal policing system, then you have the states, you have the local government policing system. But the authority comes from one place. Now, if you have a state policing who actually bastardize or actually misuse their powers, then an authority will come from somewhere, like the federal, to actually control and actually make sure that that issue is being maintained in there. If we don't have state policing or community or local government policing, we're not going anywhere. If you want to take up, if a policeman wants to take up an order, he needs to take an order from Abuja. You are in Lagos, you are in Oshodi, Shomo local government. Something very important that you need to take an action is happening there. You can't actually do anything. You need to take an order from Abuja before you can actually do that. It's not going to work. Every community knows themselves. Every local government knows themselves. So if you have local government policing system, you have state policing system, they know themselves. So how to actually organize themselves in those areas is actually quite imminent. So we need to look into that strictly and very carefully to actually begin to look, how are we going to begin to develop state and local government policing to actually be able to decentralize the way how power comes from the federal.
If you look at the menace of insecurity, coming in different toga, we've got kidnapping, got cultism, etc. And most of all of these are being championed by the youth. Most of the people that have been arrested are mostly the youth.
Yeah.
We saw recent videos of youth who were looting, who were actually looting, lorries, some of them, warehouses and all of that. I'm wondering, where did we actually miss it? Do you feel that this same youth that we are asking to help us fight, insecurity, are still the same one that are perpetrating it? Exactly what do you think can be done to, you mentioned the role of the NOA. Maybe that's where you
come in now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you very much. I think let's ask ourselves a question. What is the population of this country? Some people say 200 million, 230 million, whatever the population figure is. The youth constitute over 70% of this population. Do you know what? They have no hope. They don't know where to get. Look, the unemployment rate in this country is becoming alarming. Mm. Now, what do you want this youth to do? They go to universities. They go to other educational platform. They graduated. They come out. They have no hope. They have no job. And they're growing by the day. If the employment rate is not looked into, majority of all these youth have no skill that the employers need to take them on to get a job. Majority, this is my field that I'm telling you, majority of these youth who graduated are half-baked. They don't have the prerequisite skills that employers need. What is the government doing about that? Our national curriculum system is not addressing this. Everybody wants to go into university. And I keep saying this over time. Universities is not for everybody. But that is the way everybody wants to tailor their career through, path through. What's happened to our technical education? As we speak today, we have no skilled artisans in this country. Gone are those days when we have huge investments on our technical education, where you have our youth that go to study. Some go to university, are great, but majority goes into technical education to study plumber, carpentry, tiling, and all that. What happened, to all those areas today? If you need to build a house today, the construction industry in Nigeria is suffering. If you need to build a house today, you need to go out of the country to go get a tiler, to Togo, to Kusoni, to Benin Republic, to get tiler, to get plumber, to get electrician. Now, all this are youth, this is what they're meant to be doing. What has happened to the budget of our technical education? We need to look into that. There is huge gap in unemployment. Our youth don't feed themselves. They need to buy clothing. They need to enjoy their social life. They don't have the money. They don't have what it takes them to have a living standard. So what do you expect them to do? There's a saying that goes, an idle hands is devil. So that's what's happening. Let anybody come in and tell you that we're going to bring in a security architecture to actually curb insecurity. It's not going to happen. Because the people who actually are perpetrating these issues are the youth. And you can't really blame them. I'm not supporting what they're doing, but the point is, if they don't have nothing to do, they have to leave.
Yeah, but then, if you look at countries like the United States of America, most of those who also perpetrate crimes there are the youth. Would you say that because they also share in the same thing that they have unemployment rate issues there too? But most of those who gun runners, the kidnappers as well, those who foment trouble, they're usually the youth. So how does that single out Nigeria?
The question is, what is the percentage? What happened in America or in the Western world is antisocial behavior. Right? Now, let me use the UK, the United Kingdom as an example. It is a crime if you're not working, if you don't have a job, if you're not on the employment benefits or job seekers allowance. It is a crime because the point is, they're going to ask you, what are you doing to survive? You have a database. We don't have a database here. What's going on with all the youth who are unemployed? Mm. In the United Kingdom, every single person, from the youth to the adults who are not working, under the database. So they know the number of people who are not working. So they put them on benefit. They pay them every 2 weeks. They pay their house rent and some other benefit. So if you commit a crime, like what's going on in Nigeria here, it's a huge penalty. So you have to know, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Do you understand? So the point in here is, we don't have hope for our youth. What are they going to live on? So the percent, like what you just said earlier, the percentage of the crime perpetrated in the West compared to what is happening here, it's just alarming. Do you understand? Don't get me wrong, no country in the world.
Exactly, because even the United Kingdom isn't
no country in the world that you don't have crime. But the rate is what you need to look into. The one that is happening here happens every single hour, every single minute. And the rate of killing going on as well. The kidnapping is now a big business. Are we not all here when some state governments made laws that if anybody has been caught kidnapping, they're going to send them down the gallows to, for execution? Now you tell me, how many of those kidnappers that has been caught, has been prosecuted, has gone through the law that's been made? So when you make a law and you're not enforcing it, it becomes, everybody say, right, nothing happens to that guy, he's done it. So let me do it because there's money in it. Everybody's doing it. That is why kidnapping is actually profiting as we speak. Because there is no, we love to make laws in this country, but we don't have the enforcement to make it happen.
All right. And another thing now is, I wonder what your thoughts are on the use of social media. You know, these days we're having, such a tech-savvy population. We're not there yet. There are still so many people who are not, captured under the internet literacy population. But the issue of social media usage by the youth have also, drawn the ire of government, so to speak. Some saying, it's a tool that is being used to perpetrate insecurity. They're having too much freedom of their hands. The power on social media should be clamped down. Where do you stand in this argument?
I think the government has actually goofed on this area. I mentioned earlier the NOA, National Orientation Service. Can somebody tell me what are the duties and responsibilities of the NOA? This day, as we speak, I remember when I was growing up, when I even came to this country, you barely see people walking on the street smoking cigarettes, right? What do we see these days? Promoting people smoking marijuana on national TV. You see all our artists having alcohol, bottle of alcohol, drinking, smoking Indian hemp. You're telling everybody it's a good thing to do.
No, I don't think any national TV shows that any longer. Because
perhaps you're referring to, is it music videos you're talking about? Music videos, concerts, and the likes. Is that what you're talking about?
Social media, that's the basis of the social media. They use those ones. So the point is, the National Orientation Agency, it is their job. You see, they're not telling anybody how to be patriotic. That's right. They're not telling them how to be patriotic. Now, if nobody is telling all those kids out there, people smoking marijuana, drinking alcohol, and all this antisocial behavior, but that's their duty, and nobody is talking about it. Then it goes on. So when somebody gets drunk, some drug and alcohol, they go out there to commit crime.
Okay, so you think that this is also, coming from, what they learn on the social media?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Adeleye, we will we'll end this conversation right away because we've run out of time. We're inching to the top of the hour, but thanks a lot for all that you have spoken. We look forward to another engagement with you on, other topical issues. Michael Adeleye there speaking with us on TVC Breakfast, and that's how we wrap up the show this morning. But first, before we go, that is, we must warn that all the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. From all of us here, thank you for watching. Up next is Your View with the ladies.